Hey friends, it's Rabbi Jenny Solomon here at Beth Meyer Synagogue with a Mincha moment. So this week's Torah portion is Vayakhel. It comes from the Hebrew root word Kuf He Lamed, which means to gather. And so it starts off with Moses gathering the people, in this case to continue the work of building the Mishkan, this portable sanctuary that the Israelites will carry with them through the wilderness. So some of you may know that a congregation actually is traditionally known as a Kehillah Kadosha, a holy congregation that comes from that same root of Vayakhel, Kehillah. And for those of you who are familiar with Beth Meyer, when you pull into our parking lot, if you know Hebrew letters, you'll see a little kuf, 2 letters that are on the sign, the Beth Meyer Synagogue sign as you pull into the parking lot. And that stands for Kehillah Kadosha, a holy congregation. That's a holy community. That's ultimately what you're driving into when you come into our parking lot. So all of this talking about Vayakhel and Kehillah has me thinking about gathering. And about the fact that word on the street is that the mask mandate will be lifted by the end of this week in North Carolina or in Wake County at the very least. And that other mask mandates are being lifted. And we're sort of in this liminal space as we move from pandemic to endemic, another moment of transition through this extraordinarily challenging time. And I don't know about you, but when I think about my feelings about this moment, it's all kinds of things. I am sort of desperate and elated at the thought of taking off my mask when I'm out and about, being with people, and seeing their faces and connecting in person and bringing, hopefully in time, more and more people together to gather inside, of course, and outside, as we've been doing in particular ways. And so I'm feeling joyful and hopeful, and I'm also feeling incredibly scared and hesitant. You know, it feels different than last summer when we faced what we thought was going to be kind of the end of COVID and moving into a stage in which we didn't have to be so vigilant. I'm almost thinking of it as kind of like when you've had been in love and your boyfriend or girlfriend has broken up with you, and then you find love again and you feel wounded and hurt and vulnerable, and it's a little scary to jump into love again. So I'm feeling some of those kinds of feelings as well. Like, I don't want to sort of give myself over to this next stage, feeling like we might experience that whiplash of health, public health restrictions all over again. So maybe you all feel something like I do. And I find that my mindfulness practice and my prayer practice are actually very helpful in moments like these in a couple of ways. First of all, when I sit or when I practice on my mat or when I daven with my siddur, I sort of get a chance to kind of open the hood of the car and just see what's going on underneath. And so it's helpful just to grow in awareness of what I'm feeling, what I'm experiencing. There's a much better chance that I'll be able to be more responsive rather than reactive if I am aware of what's even happening inside of my soul. And the second is that my practice gives me a chance to practice acceptance. So the truth is, and we're all learning this sort of together in real time, is that we don't know what's going to happen in this next chapter of COVID. We don't know how our vaccines are going to hold up against the next variant, if there is a next variant. We don't know how removing masks not only individually, but as a collective, how that will impact COVID cases and the progression, or hopefully the cessation of this virus in time. We don't know. And it's one of the ways in which I think scientists have modeled beautiful mindfulness spirituality for us, is that we look at the data, we look at what is here and now. What do we know? And the truth is that changes moment to moment to moment. And so my practice right now is really focused again on just being aware of all the things that I'm feeling in this moment. I look outside and I feel some warmer waves of warmer weather. I see the blossoms on the trees and I'm feeling hopeful. And I think back to the end of last summer when I thought we were finally free, and I myself had a breakthrough COVID infection, and I feel scared, and many, many other things as well. So I'm working on awareness, and I'm also working on acceptance that we just don't know what is going to happen. That is the truth. That's the truth. And then I hope what comes from that in terms of my practice out in the world is of finding some kind of middle path. Maimonides talked about a middle path. Of course, the Buddha talked about a middle path. Probably many spiritual traditions have some sort of notion of a version of the middle path. And I'm hoping that my middle path looks something like giving myself the confidence and trust in our experts, our public health experts, to shift into a new phase of being out in the world safely. The humility to know that all might change in a matter of days or weeks, but also trusting my own internal sense of what feels good and safe. And that middle path is going to look different for each and every one of us. So I'm holding myself in compassion as I discern what that middle path will look like for me, knowing that it will look different for you, and that's okay. And that ability to be compassionate and accepting is actually part of what makes for a Kehila Kadosha, a holy congregation, a holy gathering. So here's to full-on gathering in time, when it's safe, when it feels right for you and for us as a community. Shalom, peace.